Okay, I just want to shit this one out before before I do the what's it called? Skills tier list like next week or something. So I've gone through the base game content of Xenoblade X. I have not done the chapter 13 stuff. I am very eager to see what happens there. Probably won't be very long, to be frank. So I just wanted to revisit uh, this list because I have seen a lot of different builds. I've tried a lot of new different builds, and I've just, thoughts have changed. So honestly, I don't think there's a single like tier. There's not a single weapon that goes below B tier, to be perfectly honest. The worst weapon in the game? I'll have to give it to the pikes, the javelin, the spear. This thing is the best at electric DPS. It is good at nothing else. It can pull off shock and be amazing with shock builds. You cannot push it to do anything else. Unless I'm remembering. Hang on, let me. What does Vortex do again? AoE. Okay, I didn't mean stun, I meant static. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, it is static builds, not stun. Well, also stun, I guess, when you think of Vortex. But aside from that, these don't really have much of an edge over anything else here. Everything else here is capable of doing, like, multi-attribute attacks. Especially just handling more than one element of damage. These things are almost hard locked to electric builds. And it is possible, quote, possible to push them further, but they would not be half as powerful as the static shot, as the static build, the static electric builds. It's just not something that can happen, even with. Was there a new skill for Hang on, let me. I'm double checking again. I don't think there were any new arts for Javelin. Oh, Mind Shift. Oh, right, that's useless. Right, they added Mind Shift, which made the debuff clearing meta. So let me tell you something. Mind Shift gotta be one of the worst arts in the game. So it deals weapon damage. I'm looking at the Wikipedia right now. One hit, 600% hit scaling. It removes enemy debuffs, and at level 5, it gives you 70 TP per debuff removed tier. So if you had 3 debuffs at about tier 5, you would be getting 70 times 15, 1000 TP back. And with how easy it is to apply debuffs in this game, especially at such high ranks, that's not horrible to just get a free 1000 TP back. Plus that damage isn't too bad when you've got Hair Trigger to boost up your damage. But why would you want to remove debuffs? They are doing so much more for you when they're on an enemy, and then you have to go through the trouble of reapplying them, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but you would definitely rather spend your time using another art than using 3 other arts to reapply debuffs that were surely helping a lot. Even just a little fatigue or a blackout just adds that little extra bit of inconsistency into the enemy that just makes most hard fights just that little bit extra better. Just a little virus even, that would be nice. So next, we're not going to go in any particular order. We're just going to talk about whichever ones I find. Psycho Launchers, also B, probably. So I never knew about the Psycho Launcher DPS meta before. I thought they were just the weird things that are probably good. I don't know what to do with these things most of the time, but I've seen people churn out so much damage with Stellar Ray. And I thought of the gravity lunge meta that can happen with this thing. Like, imagine a melee combo with this thing using gravity lunge. You could just perpetually topple your enemy, do a shitload of damage doing it. Like, let me double check gravity lunge. Sec. 300% hit scaling with 10 hits. That is 3,000% extra damage. For 6 seconds of topple on an 18-second long cooldown with overdrive, you are perpetually toppling, spamming this move, and probably a dual sword, like definitely 7th edge actually. That is a melee combo, so it immediately has synergy with the cooldown strats, the melee combo strats, and just Aura Assault. Wait, does Aura Assault only apply if you have a melee weapon out? Or is it just the Aura? Hang on. It's still broken, but melee attack and melee. Okay, so it applies to the. Okay. So, just having anything that synergizes with Aura Assault so well already puts the melee weapons a weird tier above everything else, which makes the Javelin so much sadder. That's a thing I don't think they really did a great job fixing, is that they didn't really make the ranged weapons any better at all. But one big thing was that the melee weapons just usually just output so much more damage or have so much more utility than the ranged weapons, well, for one exception of course. Like Gatling gun, this is just raw AoE damage. Multi-gun. Okay, you wanna know something? I don't know why I tier listed the multi-gun. I didn't even know it was a thing until 3 weeks ago. I made my last video over 3 years ago, and 3 weeks ago I learned that this was a thing. I have been playing this game for 9 years. I just learned that this was a thing in the game, in the base game, technically, 3 weeks ago. Damn. So yeah, Psycho Launchers, I can see some crazy topple builds with this, especially with like 7th edge, just comboing into it. And with the new... Okay, we gotta talk about dual gun. Okay, I'm gonna talk about dual guns right now. Okay, just know, they don't have too much utility. They're pretty... They have only like 2 DPS skills, which isn't a bad thing on its own, but that also means you can't really do too much else with them when your best buffing skill is Lightning Cloak. And I think Gravity Cloak. No, I'm thinking of Clarity Ray. Okay, no, okay. So, unsurprisingly, dual guns are staying in S tier. I'm not budging on this opinion whatsoever. Even... Let's just forget Decoy exists. What do they have? They have Combat Limbo. They have Executioner. They have Executioner. And they actually also got a, okay, I'm just gonna keep pulling up the weapons here on the side so I can remember. Okay, yeah. It has Primer and Effect Charge. Lizelle, she has one useless art and one insane art. Effect Charge, that's a new art in the game, is a debuff on the enemy that makes it so that weapon condition or art conditions don't have to be fulfilled to get their bonus. For example, Executioner, when you use it in order to increase its damage further, you have to use it in a range combo, meaning you have to do like 0-0 or Sliding Slinger first to make it do how much more damage. It's a lot more damage. That's what makes Executioner so powerful. 200% more damage in ranged combos. With just the raw damage these things are able to output with Executioner alone, and then that utility of having Primer, just a critical power buff that gives you free TP. Amazing. Also 0-0 is pretty good. Whether you use Sliding Slinger or fucking 0-0, it doesn't matter too much. 0-0 is just faster animation and it doesn't move you, so I just like it more. Also, let's see, let me look at the characteristics of Effect Charge. 1 hit, immediate reuse, 18-second duration, 18-second cooldown. Okay, so it's basically always up. 1 hit, no, and I'm not a fan of the 1 hit. I think this would just, these things would, you wouldn't need dual swords at all in any sense of the word if what's it called, Effect Charge had 2 hits in it. You would just make the dual swords obsolete. Oh, also let me talk about Early Bird. This became my favorite aura so quick. Just okay, increases the tier of your critical power buffs, increases your crit rate and evasion. Evasion is whatever. That just makes it so sometimes the enemy won't hit you. If they have blackout and you have extra evasion, well, shit, they're barely gonna hit you. And that's awesome. Just less hits you have to take. Critical chance up. I have fell in love with critical builds experimenting with them in the past, like, month. They have been so much fun and so cool to use. They just hit so hard. That's it. They just hit so hard. Need I say more? And I just love using them. Oh my gosh. Sorry. So yeah, that's all ignoring their decoy effect. Just all this utility, and none of their buffs, let's be clear, none of their arts or buffs are attribute specific. And all of these depend on the weapon being used. You can do any type of damage with these things: physical, beam, gravity, thermal, electric if you don't feel like using the javelin. This thing's so pathetic. No, I kind of want to try out the javelin at one point. I want to try static out, to be fair, completely honest. And when you factor in Ghost Factory and Ghost Walker, these things just go into a league of their own. If it weren't for the longsword, which we'll get into. And I've actually changed my opinion on the longsword a bit as well, but we'll get into that later. But let's talk about the Photon Saber. Now, I'm going to think about this as I talk about it, because this has become the staple weapon of my Definitive Edition playthrough. I have had almost no prior experience to using this thing at all, pretty much, before Definitive Edition. I have always just used, like, longsword, dual guns, or, longsword, dual swords. That's it. Sometimes javelin. Hmm. Sorry, oh shit. Glad you didn't see that. Anyway, so this thing has some crazy combo potential with itself. I recently tried like a basically almost pure Galactic Knight, uh, Photon Saber Ray Gun combo. I didn't want to use the Psycho Launchers. They weren't doing a lot for me. I'm gonna be honest. I needed a debuff art to keep my TP up. All right, don't sue me. So it's insane to me how this thing's weakest melee arts. I forgot to pull them up. One sec. How this thing's weakest melee arts are its, what do you call them? TP consuming, like Starlight Duster and is it Galactic Cataclysm? Yeah, Galactic Cataclysm are its weakest moves. You can make a perfectly powerful melee combo with just Starfall Blade, Starfall Rondo, and Starfall Blossom. You just loop those three arts. Well, not quite loop them, kind of use them interchangeably, whichever comes on cooldown first. You output just damage. So they're already just a very melee combo heavy class. What else do they do? They have like 4 different buffs. And plus, they added Sky Sunder, which kind of locked it into more of a beam niche. But honestly, I don't think Sky Sunder's that great. Like, let's see. Higher damage, the more debuffs on a target. 1 hit scaling, 1000 hit scaling. Deals 150% for every debuff. So that basically replaces Galactic Cataclysm effectively. And I also tried to think of something I could do with Phenomenon, but I didn't end up doing that because I just wanted to use the ray gun with my optic screen and subterfuge, just for the 3 hits on each. It's just a lot of TP you get from just using 2 arts. You get a full bar from like 1 of them, and then you just it's crazy. Then you get like almost 3,000. You get 3,000 once you get to max count. Getting to max count is so easy, man. When you figure it out, you know. And it's just so comfortable to use. And you know what? I actually played like hybrid DPS support. Like I would go into like DPS mode and support mode. I would go from using Starfall Rondo, Starfall Blade, Starfall Blossom into using like, God, which one did I use? I used Astral Horizon as my aura, so to activate Aura Assault. So so I had access to AoE Astral Purge and Astral Heal. I used Astral Heal because I could just have like 2 other people in Skeld, so I would get the 40% damage decrease from them. So I would be taking way less damage, and I would just be healing the living shit out of the Skells and the other grounded units, always Alma. And we would just never die because we take no, we don't take enough damage, and I just keep healing. And it would just be great, because I would also just go into Subterfuge, do debuff res down, into blackout. They would hardly ever hit us, or they would do less damage, depending on whatever they did. And I would just be sitting there healing the party. Like, I would just be getting all my TP. Granted, this is not a very self-sustaining weapon. It needs a little bit of help sometimes, which is why it's an A. It has one debuff art in Phenomenon, and it is not great for getting TP. The ether res down is very good, and you know what? That's about it. You know, that's about it. See ya. You don't get any real TP from Phenomenon, and that's about it. And Essence Exchange, not worth it in the slightest. No, you don't want to use Essence Exchange. That's barbaric, disgusting even. There's something wrong with you if you use Essence Exchange. And that's not even putting into account the extra versatility you get from all the other auras you get. Like Nova Librium, get supercharged every time you take a hit. Also enables counter spike damage. I don't know what that means. Astro Librium. This is the beam focused. This is actually a very good defensive option too, because it gives you reflect beam damage. But that also means if you have a reflect damage natural thing in your equipment or an augment, then you can just reflect entire subtypes of damage without having to worry about defenses, and that is just great, and increases your beam damage. So yeah, you just have so many options. It's a great beam, ether, and gravity option if you want to go with Starlight Duster. It's just great in all three of those categories. Beam more so than the others, but whatever. I like using gravity. It's cool. It makes me feel cool. I have 2 gravity up 20 augments, so shut up. And they just so versatile, so nice, amazing support, really good DPS. The only thing it is lacking is good crits. That is all it is missing, and it is amazing regardless. I want to talk about the 2 subs, like the 2 support-ish weapons first. So let's talk about these 2 bad boys. These are usually... Alright, so we'll just put them both in A for convenience sake. If you don't notice, it's almost 3 a.m. I just decided to record this. So the thing with these things is that they both have one function that pushes them into viability so much. This thing has side slash, and this thing has myopic scream and subterfuge, meaning that if you were to use side slash 3 times, you get 6 hits of a debuff art. If you use myopic scream and subterfuge, you get 6 hits of a debuff art. Both of these means free 6,000 TP at max count. 6,000 TP at max count. And I think that makes the ray gun debatably better, because you don't need to wait for the tertiary cooldowns on either of the tertiary or the secondary to get the TP. Those are just debuffs. The fatigue is great, the debuff down, the debuff res down is pretty good, and the blackout is nice to have, but it just makes it so much more consistent. And I was kind of wrong about the ray gun. This thing can output some pretty crazy damage. Like, have you ever seen pulling up the weapons real quick? Okay, let's talk about the ray gun first, since that's the one I put in S. Have you ever seen a beam bomber beam barrage combo? Those things do so much damage, it's not even funny. Like, oh my god. Now, I will say, the ray gun is lacking in potential damage. The only TP art it has are Master Gunner and Ether Blast. Ether Blast is okay on a good day. 6,000 damage, 3 hits, 200% more damage when you have an aura active. Okay, never mind, that's pretty good. On paper, at least. I've never used it in practice. I might try that out after I'm done with my sniper build, actually. But that does mean that Ether is your only damage option for potential builds. But as I said before, this thing right here didn't need potential to do that much damage. This thing doesn't either. Beam Barrage and Beam Bomber, those two arts are on crack. They are Starfall Rondo and Starfall Blade that only need an aura to do maximum damage. Sorry, I just got a notification. And that is amazing. They don't get the same benefit from Aura Assault, but I don't think they need it. They just do a lot of damage on their own. They don't need potential to boost it. And just look at the new stuff they put out. I forgot about Bahamut Wave. So at level 5, Bahamut Wave hits 2 times. Not as good as my Optus Scream or Subrefuge's 3 hits, but at that point, are you really going to miss out on 1000 TP? But it spreads debuffs to enemies within range. This means that whenever you hit an enemy, it creates a splash effect that spreads that enemy's debuffs. This has nothing to do, as far as I can tell, it has nothing to do with their debuff res. However, I just don't ever see debuffs fail unless the attack outright misses, so I kind of question if Subrefuge is even worth it sometimes, to be perfectly honest. But Bahamut Wave is an immediate reuse. 2-hit immediate reuse. It is basically side slash. And it spreads debuffs, and actually, I just forgot to mention, it has a 40% chance of increasing the debuff tiers on all the enemies it hits. Let me look at the hit scan. Okay, it's just 200%, never mind. I was about to say maybe it does some good damage to you, but no, it doesn't. So the ray gun is an amazing debuffing tool, an amazing damage doing tool. It's just so restricted in certain areas that keep it from being as good as the dual guns. It's still leagues better than everything else though. Now the dual swords. These things are weird. So they kind of try to trick you in a way. They have a lot of arts that are meant to trying to make you think they're good at doing damage. No. Your best damage doing art is 100 shells, if I'm not mistaken. 150 scaling, 14 hits, 200% more damage when from behind. Okay, so here's the thing. This doesn't really stack with other when attacking from behind buffs. Like, for example, let's take it another dual sword art. Shadowrunner. Yeah, Shadowrunner. This doesn't really stack with Shadowrunner as much as you think it would. So, Shadowrunner boosts damage from behind. I'm not exactly sure how much. It's probably a good amount. But only arts are affected by enemies, are not affected, sorry, by enemies turning around to look at you when you're attacking from behind. You know what this means? When you're standing there shooting your 100 shells, otherwise 14 hits in an enemy, they have 14 hits to turn around and get rid of that damage buff to look at you and say, "You fucked up, fool." You will still get the damage bonus from 100 shells, bonus from attacking from behind, but not like Shadowrunners or any augments. So that just makes positional attacks pretty odd to land. And it's what makes things like Shadow Strike and Backslash so odd. Shadow Strike is the only like stagger art in the game, so it's like something for beginning a game, but you know, nothing really past that. Backslash, it's just backslash. It doesn't do anything. It's just Shadow Strike, but worse. TBH, for real. Actually, now the dual swords have sorry, their strength is in so many other things. It's in their utilities where they shine. Their damage fall off is insane once you get to the end game. I am confident you can still get good damage out of these things. There's no way you can't. I am so certain these things have good capacity to do damage. But about as good damage as pretty much everything else in the game. If I'm being perfectly honest, I'm pretty sure the knife can outpace this thing's damage. So all we have to look at is its utility. How much utility does it have? A lot. So first we have Side Slash. Targets one enemy. You get it immediately as soon as you get into Winged Viper, which by this point you're probably at least close to Chapter 5. This is the dual art skill you need to max out immediately. First of all, hit scaling 350, 2 hits, not bad. Deals 150% more when doing from the side. Okay, that's pretty good. However, this isn't a melee skill, it's a debuff skill. So I don't know if it gets boosted by things like Aura Assault. However, it actually might, because I just recently found out that things that are technically debuff arts still might get boosted, depending on whether they're technically ranged or melee, which is a weird gray area. So it is still pretty good, and not the worst damage doing device. What's good about it is it does 2 hits, it's immediate reuse, very low cooldown. Sorry. And also does some fatigue on the side. So this means, like I described earlier, this is 6,000 TP when you use this thing 3 times in overdrive at max count. I need water. 1 sec. Okay. So that is just free TP And even when you're at lower TP, this is still amazing, just like both. So I forgot to mention this for Subterfuge and my optic screen, but you do still use these to get TP primarily. That's usually what they're used for, even at lower counts, if you're not getting to 100 count easier. And that is amazing. Just being able to build up TP so you can get your count up, get your timer up so you don't have to worry about overdrive ending. And just do a little bit of extra fatigue so you just have less damage to worry about. It's amazing. And that's just side slash blood sacrifice. Immediate reuse halves your current HP, not your max HP. Whatever HP you're currently at, halved to give you 1000 TP, immediate reuse, 27-second cooldown. Free 1000 TP no matter what, whether you're not in overdrive, whether you are in overdrive, whether you're at 0 count or whether you're at 10. 1000 TP. You can use any skill in the game after that. Which is great. So you just have that as a panic button if you just need stuff. It also enables the lower HP, anything that requires you to be at lower HP, like Crisis Zone or that one skill I'm forgetting about. One more thing, I think. 7th Edge. Yep. This is probably your best melee art. It just is 6 hits on a low cooldown with okay scaling, and it's a melee art. I currently have dual swords on from my sniper build, so I can just get TP quicker without having to worry about it getting too low. I have this to get count a little quicker, even though I'm already starting at like 80. As soon as I get into any encounter, I can just grab a quick like 6 or 12 count just from using this skill. It's very good. I very much so like it. It's just so comfortable. It's just a hitting skill, you know, and it's quick too. Oh, also I forgot to mention about upper hand. That's just a critical power buff. It's a good. Yep. Gives you extra crit damage. Nice, solid. I think it doesn't have as much damage utility as the ray gun. This is almost, I usually see the dual swords as the most pure focus support thing in the game, along with the knife. I don't know a lot about the knife. That is my least informed thing on here. And you know what? Let's just get it out of the way. I don't know. This thing is weird, because it has all this status stuff. This is the debuffing weapon, as far as I can tell, and the, like, weird DPS weapon. I don't think it's bad is the thing. It's such an odd weapon. Because it has, like, 2, maybe 3 really good damaging skills. Some good buffing skills, smooth recovery, and energy source. Some great debuffing skills. Some fun debuffing skills, more importantly. Oh, shit, that actually reminds me. I forgot about the treasure rank increase from Psycho Launchers. I totally forgot about that. That just makes grinding stuff way easier. Just better stuff easier. That is worth a tier raise immediately. Oh, also the controls cool, I guess, if you want. Yeah, this is the gimmick weapon, I guess I can say. Wait, that's not the knife. I've been playing this game for 9 years. This is the gimmick weapon. Okay. This has all the wacky ailments like sleep, control. I think it even has virus. Let me check, because there's a lot of weird things this thing does. Let's see. Brain jack, servant sacrifice, secondary speed. What's that? Oh, help. Yeah, it has sleep and control, which are two of the more gimmicky things. But sleep is extremely powerful on enemies that works on, and control is just fun before you get overdrive. It's just cool. Okay, you know what, I'm keeping it at A, no matter what. I don't think this thing is breaking S, but let's look at the DPS skill. Slit edge, no. Oh shit, wait, right, this thing has good auras. Recuperate, that's just good. Oh, wait, this thing has full specs? Oh shit! Oh my god. Oh, that's great, actually. I didn't know this thing had. I thought that was a rig. Oh. Absorber skin is alright. Dispel. Oh, Dispel is amazing. It just removes a buff. Also, it doesn't do a lot of damage, actually. Never mind. 400% scaling. Being a TP art isn't going to help you there. You're not that guy. You are not that guy. But you do have two things that just straight up boost potential. You have both energy source and full specs. Like, come on. Oh, right, thing. Blackbane. I've seen this do so much damage before. How many hits is... I thought I'd seen, like, one knife art. Oh, it was probably Black Butterfly, hang on. 4 hits, 300%. Etherez down. I've seen this thing do so much damage before. I saw this thing, like, almost one-shot Mr. Diafic Blast. Wow. I think that's just a testament to how you can push anything into crazy viability if you try hard enough. Watching the knife just absolutely shred Mr. Diafic Blast to pieces. That was an experience. Okay, so I think it's fair to classify this thing as mostly utility. Multi-gun. Alright, one moment. I've never used the multi-gun before. Its arts are barely even listed. It has 4 arts exactly. I'm pretty sure you just learn them from having it. Okay, Sniper Barrel versus Shot. Sniper Barrel, 1 hit, 800%. Still Barrel, 4 hits, 300%. 150 more if you have an aura. Boost Barrel, an aura, which makes sense, I guess. Reduces secondary cooldown, auto attack cooldown, and potential, which increases cannon barrel. 1 hit, topple for 6 seconds. 1000 hit scaling, 3 times as much damage in range combos. All these cooldowns are really low. And these do some pretty solid damage, and boost barrels are really good. Very ranged focus, and I think the auto attacks on this thing are good. Don't quote me on that. So it's just a pure damage dealing thing. There's absolutely no support, almost no utility whatsoever. It is just support. It is just damage out the wazoo. Which I think is gonna only land it in B. You need some kind of lifeline or survivability in order to get this thing out. And very few of these weapons, aside from shield, are gonna give that to you. The guns in this game are so helpful for just keeping you alive, which is why kind of why these other guns they're great at doing damage. Not always as great as the melee art weapons. Still great, but they lack survivability, which is what puts these two up here. They're in leagues of their own, baby. This thing is pure damage. It can't self-sustain. It can't support the party. It can't help anyone but interfere with the enemy. But at the end of the day, if an enemy's dead, they can't kill you. And if you can kill them before they can kill you, well then that's the problem solved. Shield. This is the single weapon in the game that relies almost entirely on skills. I'm not even gonna pull up the thing on the side. I know its arts are mid. Like they're all just like damage reduction, toppling, mild damage. Its damage is mid overall. I looked at the data earlier. I just remember thinking, you know, it's okay, I guess. It's like 7th edge worth of damage, pretty much. It can topple. It mitigates damage, but you have to have the skills for it to work. Which means you can't have the skills for anything else to work. You can't have a ray gun that is as tripped out as the shield. However, it is necessary in some fights. Like if you want to try to solo Telethia, this is probably going to be your first. This is almost definitely going to be one of the first weapons you beat Telethia with. Because you need it to fucking survive. Not need it anymore quite. Still very helpful for mitigating damage, always. You have to be built for only the shield. And the guns will not help this issue. Which is why it is down here with the javelin. The assault rifle is probably the single weapon in the game I've had the most changing feelings about over the years. At first, I thought it was the only good gun in the game, aside from the dual guns for a while, because it did topple. No. And afterwards I thought, well, it can't really do anything. It doesn't really have anything to do damage. It doesn't have any real... It has burst grenade, that's it. This is your blaze damage dealer. This is the thermal weapon. Screw this thing. Actually, I haven't looked at this thing's skills at all. I don't know what this thing does too well. This is my choice for the best thermal weapon in the game. Yes. No. It has the utility of topple. You get it literally at the beginning of the game, so it's already just very powerful. Toppling enemies just 6, well, not quite 6 seconds. Just any time of inactivity, you can cancel an enemy's animation. Just any frame of time, you can just stop an enemy from doing things. You just disable them when you take them out. So strong. And I didn't even talk about the ray gun's gravity blast. This thing is powerful. That's also part of why I don't really think it's worth talking about. Actually, you know what? No. Right, if you can topple the enemy with this thing, then that gives you time to pull out your gun and do... That gives you time to pull out these things and start blasting. Technically, these things eliminate the need for the shield. People don't really think about it that way, though, because decoy is kind of a sin in the community, but there are points in the game where it's like, I don't want to re-equip my entire cast of characters to be defending against one specific enemy as I walk through this forest of thousands of different enemies. So I would rather have the decoy so I don't have to do that. And that is perfectly fine. If you want to use decoy, use decoy. I still use decoy. Decoy is perfectly okay. Don't be ashamed to use decoy unless you're doing a no decoy run. In that case, you got an issue. So with that being said, that does change my thoughts on the shield a little bit. You do have that time where you can just pull out your gun and do some damage while your enemy's toppled and can't really do anything about it. And then you can take back out your shield, start stalling again, and probably just wait for a while down to come back, do it more and more until they're dead. It will take a long time, but they will die. You will live. That's aura. I have seen supercharge into... Let me double check actually. I really want to try this thing out because I've seen some nasty stuff with this. Grenade Blitz and Quick Cannon from Rena and Gwen, right? Gun Force. Right. So this thing has a surprising amount of thermal damage. First you have flame grenade, which just does thermal damage, you know. It's okay. You have Infuriate, Burst, Decoy Round, and Flash Grenade. 3 debuffing skills. Decoy Round, amazing. Flash Grenade, great for doing Blackout. Does electric damage, but whatever. So you have a source of Taunt with it boosts TP with Morale. Amazing, so you just get free TP. That also means you do just get 2 debuffing skills that increase your TP. Double check, hang on, Flash Grenade. Blackout only lasts for 5 seconds on that. Okay, that's fun. They're both immediate reuse, but yeah. Oh, Decoy Round. Wait, hang on. 300 times morale level, so at 3 morale, which is pretty easy to do, you get 900 TP with immediate reuse. Okay. And then you just get Flash Grenades, AoE Blackout. Okay, and you can always extend that. There's nothing stopping you from extending that if you need be, I suppose. And I have seen Quick Cannon Grenade Blitz combos do real good. A Quick Cannon doesn't really need its 150 boost to do its thing. Like, you just get the blaze off, and that's it. This is just free damage. Just so much damage all at once. Immediately. Quickly. And when you're critting with maybe Gun Force. Let me see if there's any... Apologies. Oh right, Power Dive. I completely forgot about Power Dive. Yeah, you can just the shit out of quick counting grenade blitz, not grenades, Buddhism, grenade Buddhism, but it's still very powerful. So this thing can self-sustain its own damage basically in the same way that the multi-gun can. It just has thermal restrictions, but I think that's fine on the assault rifle because it has a little bit more utility in the amount of TP it can get with quick cannon and the blindness of decoy round, unlike this thing which only shock. It does static, and sometimes it stuns if you really wanna. Yeah. It's nice. Do not underestimate that blaze damage with supercharge. It can get nutty. Okay, Gatling gun, probably one of the other weapons I know the least about. I don't think it's as constrained as its brother, the shield. Let's see. Titan recharge, not great. Bullet Twister. Bullet Twister I think is pretty good. Not a lot of arts here actually. No, I'm looking at it. Let's see, 300, 8 hits, increases TP when you have an aura active. That's fine, I guess. Fire Carnival. Does damage. 10 hits, 250 scaling. Actually really good. No quick cannon, but actually quick cannon was kind of ridiculous. It had like 150 scaling or something. Plus it's self-sustained supercharge. So this is looking like a somewhat more inferior version of... Okay, I just looked at thermal payload. 6 hits, 900% scaling, 200% more damage against toppled enemies. Okay. Okay. I have to. But what's this one? Okay, this one. Okay, fine. You're only restricted to thermal damage. You at least have a few skills with weapon damage. Bullet Storm and Hellfire. Fine. Also Bullet Twister. Fine. 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 This round. Sick bastard. Don't underestimate this thing's quick cannon. Quick cannon is insane if you build it right. If you build it well. Sniper. This is the one I've been experimenting with the most. Or probably the... Well, no. This is the one I started experimenting with most recently. There we go. So... What? Oh. So it has one new art, Howling Soul, increases potential in both ranged and melee attack. Also it revives a random incapacitated ally, so if you just have an incapacitated ally you can just use this and it'll revive them on the spot and give you the aura effect. This thing is the pinnacle of ranged damage and it only has one real damage dealing device. It is constrained quite heavily to the potential skill archetype because Afterburner is too insane not to use. You have No. What is it? Shrapnel, first down, sidewinder. You have 4 other options, and they all do like shrapnel does like appendage damage. First down does like topple on humanoids. Sidewinder, what is that? Debuff res down. Slay a net. I will say these are all weapon damage moves. Is Slay a net like actually a ranged art? This thing is so fucking weird. Okay, it's 3 hits, so it's okay. It does really good damage. 2100%, that's pretty good. It's no afterburner, but nothing will ever be afterburner. Okay, I guess it... Alright, fine. This is the critical weapon for potential builds. It is constrained to potential builds because the only other damage dealing art it has, really, is Slay a Net. And I don't even know what that animation looks like. I think you just stab someone with your sniper. Which is not great, to be perfectly frank. Oh, also Ghost Sniper's amazing. Just increase the crit rate, boost your ranged accuracy, make your attacks more consistent, and whenever you crit, you boost TP. In Overdrive, getting crits is the easiest thing ever. And with crit power boosting, whoo-wee, this thing's damage getting nuts. Aside from that, it has no utility. Just raw potential damage. Unless you really want to make Slay a Net a damage doing art. However, with Howling Soul, this does get pushed up a bit because of Howling Soul. Because that random revive can save you all the time you need to not look around the field with the blurry fucking motion camera effect, what's it called, motion blur effect. Try to figure out where your dead comrade is with their blurry white beam going up, to just revive them on the spot. Just seeing that HP bar hit 0, not knowing where they are, just click that, they're back, you're buffed, you're good. They're back in the fight, they can heal themselves back up. You are ready. Other than that, no utility. Intercept does stun. That's it. It has a situational topple. Other than that, raw damage. Raw damage to appendages, raw damage to people, to anything. Just kills them so hard. And it's great. This is why I kind of want to experiment with this and the shield, because I can allocate most of my shield to most of my skills to making sure the shield works, and I can allocate most of my arts to making sure the sniper works. It's great. I love that idea. Now you might be wondering, after all I've said, why does the longsword still get first place? It has almost no survival options. One sec, actually. Just pull this up so I make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, it has a new ARP, that's it. This thing does so much damage, you will think you're riding a Skell. You can juggle True Stream Edge and Tornado slash Rising Blade if you want. It can do great thermal damage with Incendiary Edge and Burning Slash. It can do amazing any element damage with Blossom Dance. Blossom Dance. I want to reiterate. Blossom Dance. Blossom Dance. Blossom Dance. I said Blossom Dance a lot because it's Blossom Dance. The only thing this thing lacks is a fucking buff art. It doesn't have a single buff art, and it doesn't need any, because all these guns, they have enough buff arts that you don't need to buff art. You can just buff yourself up. It's great. It's amazing. I love it. And now that I'm looking at this, I want to try a sleeping sniper build. That would be so funny. This thing can work so well with any gun, as long as the gun is not interfering with the longsword. This thing does... Okay, it's at its best when it's doing either thermal or physical damage. When you're doing physical damage, you can do, Magnum Edge to do physical res down, and you can do Burning Slash to do thermal res down. Actually, Burning Slash is surprisingly strong, I think. Never mind. I just immediately proven wrong. I remember doing a lot of damage when I was a young lad, alright? And this thing is so powerful because of it. It can get boosted by the assault rifle, all the taunts it has. It can get Rising Blade to do any damage. It can just work with any possible melee function in the game perfectly, just because it is the pure damage melee weapon. It doesn't have the awkward niche of lance. It doesn't have the specific setup of shield. It doesn't have the gimmickiness of a knife. It doesn't have the strict support of the dual swords, and it doesn't have the hybrid allocation of the Photon Saber. You can use the Photon Saber for only one role, but I think it's amazing in just doing whatever you need it to do, filling whatever role it needs to do. The only thing the Photon Saber can do is collect DP. That is the same for this thing, except this thing does what it does best. It is the highest damage output you can get. As long as you're not dying, you will kill whatever's moving as quick as humanly possible, outside of a scalp. I didn't talk about that in depth at all, but I don't think I need to. You can just look at this thing and see, oh yeah, this is the damage doer. It outpaces the ray guns. What's it called? The very simple damage output. It outpaces the multi-guns, like damage exclusive output. It outpaces the sniper's attempt at damage output. It outpaces the Gatling gun, and at least the Gatling gun's thermal damage. I'm not. Let me double check Incendiary Edge. 700%, 3 hits, 200% melee combos. Okay, yeah, it outpaces the assault rifle. Okay, so yeah, best thermal damage, best physical damage, best damage in the game you can get. And at the end of the day, that is the most important part of Xenoblade as a franchise. You need to do as much damage as you possibly can, no matter what. The enemies don't care whatever you're setting up. They're not looking at this postmodern bullshit. They just want you dead. And if you can kill the enemy before it can have you dead, that's enough. Anything else I gotta cover? Yeah, you use Blossom Dance or Incendiary Edge. It's definitely at its best when it's using potential as its primary stat, but what's it called? I think you can make True Stream Edge, Rising Blade, and Tornado Blade work out just fine. Actually, True Stream Edge is so broken. I think it's debatably just as good as Blossom Dance. Like, let me just look at this real quick. Let's look at Blossom Dance's damage values. Ignore attribute resistances, right? 7,000% or 700% hits, 6 hits. Oh boy. So already that is probably the highest hit scaling in the game by default, and it just ignores attribute resistance, so it will always do the same amount of damage to every enemy as long as they don't reflect whatever damage you're dealing. And this isn't constraining it to any single attribute. This can be any attribute. As long as it is on your weapon by default, it will do that damage. That is amazing. This is the only thing in the game to have that kind of effect. True Stream Edge, you get a shit ton of TP when you use it, and it does some pretty good damage. It has a relatively low cooldown. What does Hercules Blow do? Weapon damage, lower HP, higher damage, up to 50%. 24,000 hit scaling at 1 hit. Okay. Alright, bro. Who asked? Fuck. I'm a sleepy fuck. I'm gonna get out of here now.